taken in the session. The intention to do live session is to take questions from you. A few things which need more like a discussion. For that purpose, I have planned this. In this particular session, today's session, what I've done is I've picked out some of the questions which you can see on the screen. In case you're not able to read, don't worry, I'll read that. There are about 12 questions which I have picked up, and I'm going to talk about them. I'll answer that. I'm sure it is going to help you in your real work, and in case you're going to write certification there as well, some of the critical things. In addition to that, I will take your questions as well, which you can type. I only request that you type it clearly in the chat, and I will try to answer that. And further after that, I will be talking about two case studies, one for architecting track and one for SysOps track, right? So, and I'll explain you that planning to take it further. All right, so it is good. It is 9:25. I see many of the people joining here. I'm just hoping others. I'll just do one thing. Um, I'll put this URL in the chat window in the comment section of the other place, right? So this is a bit difficult, but we are doing it for the first time. After this, it should be okay. So let me just take this and I'll put it here so that those who want, they can join.
You need a web.
All right, that's it. We are done. I'm back here. So starting with the questions, first, how to control the data transfer charges on AWS? So now it would be visible, Yashwant. The data transfer charges on AWS. Now it is very critical to understand this part, because many of the times when you implement your environment on AWS, after that you find out that the bill comes high because unknowingly you would have transfer charges. It is important to understand that in terms of cloud, what costs you and what does not cost you. So let's if you have an EC2 instance in availabilities of Oregon region, and you have another EC2 instance B of the same Oregon region. Now there are two ways you can do data transfer between these two instances. One is using their public IP, right? Or it could be using private IP. You should know that in both the cases you are charged, though the charges differ, but in both the cases you are going to get charged. The data transfer charges are zero when you are doing data transfer between two instances which are there in the same availability zone. Even when you are using private IP addresses and your instances are there in two different availability zones, you end up paying money, right? So that's why though we need to spread our instances across two availability zone for high availability purpose, but we also go ahead and put our ELB different availability zones. I have a detailed video on the ELB. Go ahead and look at it in order to understand how to create it. Now the internal node try to spread the traffic to the instance same availability zone, right? Only when you enable cross zone load, a node within the ELB will try to send the traffic zone. On the same lines, the data transfer S3 bucket to an EC2 instance in the same region. Let's say in Oregon, and your EC2 instance is also there in the Oregon, then the data transfer between them is totally free, right? So there will be one more detailed tutorial, of course, which where I will be talking to you about the data transfer charges. In the meanwhile, I would request you surely that if you go to this page of on-demand EC2 instance pricing, if you just Google EC2 on-demand instance pricing, you have a section there which talks about data transfer. Okay, data transfer charges. I would request you to surely read this. It talks about in and out. Remember, data transfer into the cloud is free from internet, but data flowing out from AWS to internet so you can read on this particular URL. I'm just gonna put this in the section here in the so you can read here. So Roshan has asked a question that about Route 53. Just please hold on. I'll just finish these and I'll take your question. Sure. But it is there on the chat. I'll take it. And I'm just copying the URL. Next one is what if one of the what is a typical day of SysOps admin? And so this is something which is important for all of us to understand. With the whole AWS coming into picture, a lot of things are getting automated, which means the typical work of admins, it's going to change. So earlier admins were spending a lot of time in doing monitoring of things, deploying things. Now most of that is getting automated. So an admin's work going ahead would be more focused or would involve automation as well. Now, if you talk about a typical day, what I would say is a SysOps administrator or an administrator on AWS would be involved in creating different AWS services and provisioning them, like provisioning of EC2 machines, uh, ensuring that they follow all the necessary standards which have been set, for example, is using the correct AMI or not using any invalid AMI, doing the patches that is still there, but how to do it in an automated manner. Um, and over and above that, many other things like earlier, when an instance used to be created, an admin had to launch it manually. Those things are going away. The scaling take care of that. It takes care in case to launch another instance. You can try that as well. There is a tutorial where I have explained this. Please go and watch that. Do a setup of similar type, and once group has launched instances, go ahead and try to terminate some instance, and you will see auto scaling group balances the instances, right? In addition to that, I was talking about automation. So admins are going to be involved in a lot of automation, like deployment of complete environment in an automated manner. And they will be able to do this, of course, with the help of scripts and AWS APIs. And in addition to that, uh, also through tools like CloudFormation. So CloudFormation is a service given by Amazon, which helps you to create a complete environment just in one shot, right? You can define your complete environment in the form of a template, and you can stand up the environment in one shot. So it ensures, the important thing is, it ensures that all the standards remain as it is between there's a video on that as well. You can see how to write a template. When should we use a spot EC2 instances? In case you are still not clear, first of all, different pricing models of EC2, highly recommend to go and recommend that you go and see a 10 minutes video on talks about all the 6 different types of pricing related. Yes, you heard it right. There are different types of pricing, around 6 actually, right from on-demand, reserved, scheduled reservation, spot instances, dedicated instances, and dedicated host. And I have explained it all in a simple video, uh, which is here. So I'm just putting it here. You can watch this and Okay, I'll just take a question immediately because it has come just in between. Do we need development experience, coding experience to work on CloudFormation? No, no, Rangesh, not at all. CloudFormation template, it is just a Python format. So all you need to know is, like different properties, and it is fairly easy. Also, I've explained about tool in my tutorial that you can use in order to generate the base template. I'll also put up a tutorial in the description showing a demo of CloudFormer tool. So coding is not required. Satish has asked in between that scripting is mandatory for sysadmins in AWS. Sashi, yes, the scripting is gonna be required. The point is that amount of scripting required would be the same which you're doing already. Uh, uh, for example, you have been running Linux or Windows commands in, when you are doing things on premises. Same way now as well, you'll have to do things at your OS level, right? In addition to that, if you get to know AWS commands, and you can, of course, automate things. So not to worry, it is not difficult. Get started, and you'll get it. Harish has asked that when did you, Harish, we were supposed to start at 9 o'clock, but we got started like around 9:25, so it is just 10 minutes. All right. So I think we should take the questions in between, or else it will go above. So Roshan has asked, what is the use of Route 53 in AWS and how is it better from other? So Route 53, Roshan, Route 53 is the DNS service, and a DNS service basically resolves a domain to a machine or to an IP address, right? So you can specify google.com to which machine it should resolve to, and from there the request will go. That's what a DNS service does. Route 53 is the DNS service from AWS. Why is it better than others? Because compared to other DNS services, it has a lot of different types of mechanisms available. It supports different types of routings, like weighted round robin, failover mechanism is available, geolocation based routing, and latency based routing. And it just doesn't go ahead and even combine different types of routing within for one of your domains. So that's why it is really good. And whatever records you create, it gets stored in different regions across the world. So chances of your DNS failing, that's not going to happen. So that's your Route 53. One more person has asked. Gardena NK has asked that what is the difference between IAM roles and policy? Um, uh, so policy is the collection of all the permissions, right, which we want to give, and we can attach a policy to the role, and hence based on that we tell that anybody who assumes this role what he can do. I would highly recommend to see, there are two videos on IAM part 1 and 2. Please go ahead and watch it on the channel. I have explained this in very detail, and you will be able to understand that. um, in the meanwhile, what is AWS server provisioning? How to do it using chef recipes? Anil has asked. So AWS server provisioning is nothing but creating chefs. How to do it with using chef recipes? If you know if you know chef already, there are mechanisms to do it. If I were to show it with a demo, it would not be possible to answer it here. I'll try to cover it. Um, Roshan is asking, there is so there is a request that when you are typing, you also write that what you're referring. Route 53 in this case. There are other services also in market. Why should we? That's this. There's no need to use this particularly. Different enterprises use Route 53 because of its robustness and the speed at which it resolves. So its performance is good there. And as I told you, it is very tightly integrated with other AWS services as well. So for example, you can go ahead and have like two different environments created in two different regions, right? So organizations which require 5 nines of availability, AWS recommends that you should deploy your infrastructure in two different regions. So for example, you can go ahead and have one environment in North Virginia, another environment in, let's say, Singapore, and you can put Route 53 in between and put a weighted round robin mechanism. So you can of course use other DNS services, but the performance of Route 53 is a lot better and very well integrated with AWS. So that's why people use it. Um, Happy Lucky, yeah, how to create environments. I'm going to show you case studies just in a while, so please hold on, and I'll detail it out. So we'll talk about that just in a while. I have noted it as one of the points. So now that I've taken the questions which are written till now, I'm going to proceed with some of the more important ones, and I will take as you type more. Okay, Yashwant, what is while in terms of buying domain, there is no difference, Yashwant. You can buy a domain at GoDaddy or you can buy a domain at Amazon Route 53. So it doesn't make much difference. So there are two parts. One is registrar, and then there's domain. So when you buy a domain at GoDaddy or you buy at Route 53, that becomes your registrar. And then further, the DNS service is the one which stores all your records like A records, MX records, quad A records, etc. So you can even go ahead and do things like you can store your meaning you can register your domain at GoDaddy and still use Amazon Route 53 as your DNS service. So there are steps for that on the website, but of course I will be doing a video on the same, but you can do that. Sujit has asked, in our company, we have classic ELB with 4 instances attached to it. So any way from which EC2 instance, is there any way from which EC2 instances serve the request? Uh, uh, I do not understand. Can you retype, please, Sujit? Yeah, thanks, Ayush. Again, I'll take it. I'll go ahead with the other questions and then I'll, of course, come back to the question answers again. Thanks, Ayush. So next is when should we use instances? So I have given you the link. I would request that please see and understand the pricing, different pricing models. Now, spot instances are those where you submit the bid and you get the instances if your bid is above the market price of a spot instances. But a spot instance price is changing very frequently, right? Like very frequently, and you should not. It's not even before that. It changes. So once the market price goes higher than what you have specified in your bid, those instances are terminated with a notice period of 2 minutes. There are few other options as well, which are now available with the spot EC2 instances, like a spot block and a spot fleet. So you can go ahead and do that. In case of spot block option and fleet option, I've explained this, so you can look at the tutorial. But the point is, when should you use the spot EC2 instances? The cases where uh, the cases where you don't have a fixed timeline to complete to complete the processing. For example, your batch processing, you have like say 8 hours or 10 hours to finish your batch processing every day. Now you can go ahead and try and do this batch processing with the spot instances. You can define a bid of really heavy in spot instances, and and you can even schedule the bid. You can submit a recurring bid, and at a particular point of time, you get the instances and start your processing. Now you can go ahead and do and be even more smart. And at a particular example, you get a time window of night 10 p.m. to morning 4 a.m. in order to process, in order to do a batch processing, right? So at 10 p.m., you should have a recurring bid which becomes active at 10 p.m. And you can go ahead and maybe keep it active till 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. in the night or 11 a.m. in the night. And after that, maybe in case you do not get your bid on that particular day, you can write a small script which checks the status of your bid at say 1 a.m. And if the bid was not successful, it can go ahead and disable the bid or cancel the bid and launch the instances in the on-demand mode. Now, all of this which I talked, you can go ahead and script it. And the best part is if you, as time passes, you will learn how to, how to define the price correctly. There are good chances that your work would be done with the Spot instances itself. Even in case someday Spot instance price is higher, you can go ahead and do it on those days alone with the on demand. So that's something really great. There are many case studies related to Spot EC2 instances and how they have benefited people on AWS website. So please go through it, and you will understand that you can save anywhere from 82% to 90% compared to on-demand instances in case of Spot EC2 instances. In summary, places where the application is written in such a manner that it can process things and again it can come back, right? In case the instances go down, when the instances get started, application can resume from there. Such type of processing you can do with the Spot EC2 instances. What is the guideline to divide VPC into subnets? So one of the tutorial which many of you have liked is the one where I've explained VPC. It clarifies that how to create a VPC, how to divide it into public and private, table, everything. But the point is, what should you keep in mind while defining the subnets? So the important point here is that you should look at the fact that that how many instances you are going to keep in the public subnet and how many in the private subnet, right? So that is one factor. Now, most of the time you will find that people keep less number of things on the public subnet, and of course that is good also from the security perspective. So you can probably keep your ELB in the public subnet and rest of the things in the private subnet. Now, in the same manner, you should try and keep your private subnets to be bigger and public subnets to be smaller, right? Because there you will have lesser resources. But one important thing to consider that managed services like ELB, they scale when the need arises. When the load on your website increases, the ELBs expand internally, which means they will eat up on the IP address, private IP address from your public subnet. So you need to plan and keep some buffer for that. Do not go ahead and create public subnets of some 8 IP addresses. Please don't do that. In addition to that, you should divide your subnets from internet accessibility perspective, right? So from internet accessibility perspective, if you see, there can be only 3 major types: public, private, and subnet only. So public is something which is exposed to internet, private is something which is not exposed to internet directly, but still you do provision a NAT instance so that instances in the private subnet can route traffic to the outside world. So if you want to understand how to set up this, please see the tutorial, and I have explained it in detail. The third type of subnets can be there where you do not even provide, you do not give a route for NAT instances even. Why? Because you do not want instances in that particular subnet to send out traffic to internet. You want it to be completely isolated, no traffic incoming from it. In the same way, this can also not send any traffic to outside. So in such case, the simple thing is in route table for such subnets, there would not be any entry for NAT gateway, no entry for internet gateway. All right, guys, are you able to follow? Is it audible clearly? In between, some of the friends have joined. So NK has requested, please make a video on how to configure an AMI. I will do that surely, guys. Where for anything for which you want me to make a video, I would request you to submit the request in the Google Forms link. It is there on the comment section, channel comment section. Please go ahead and submit it there so that I do not miss it. Right, it would be easy for me to to collect all the requests and then I can make it. In between, Deepak has joined. Hello, Deepak. And Yashwant is asking how many VPC can be created in one region. These are all modifiable limits, Yashwant, right? So there you can, by default you can create 5, but you can anytime go ahead and increase the limit, not a problem. What about SG rules you can add? So Gadena, that is the case with that. The final number I don't remember. It was probably some 100 or 200, but that doesn't matter. Also, you should not add so many security rules, security group rules, right? If you add 600 rules in a security group, that is gonna slow down your speed. So try to keep it like like 5, 10. That should be fine. Could you explain between classic and application ELBs, which ELB has choose on which cases. Yeah, take that just in a while. Quick question. Okay, let me just quickly tell you. Classic one is a classic ELB. Basically, is that operates at network level. It is a network layer load balancer, whereas application ELB or application load balancer operates at layer 7. In case of application load balancer, you have a lot more possibilities that you can point it to EC2 instances and even to containers, right? And you can define even further rules that based on this rule, it should go to this particular target group. So it will take, it will be longer to explain that. And there is a tutorial due on that. I'm going to make it and there I'll explain it in detail. Right. So please subscribe and remain updated on that. I'll bring that tutorial very soon. Next question is when to use security groups and network ACL. Hi Deepak, if you have any question, please type that. I'll take that just in a while. When to use security groups and network ACL. So many of the times people but people are confused that when to use which one, because both of them are like network traffic filtering, right? So let's understand security groups applied at instance level. Network ACLs are applied at subnet level. You already know that you can have, let's say, n number of instances in a subnet. You have one subnet, there can be 5 instances inside that, right? Ahead and define a deny, right? A deny at the network ACL level, meaning at the subnet level. Of course, that for all the instances inside. So when do you yeah, sure, Harish. I will do that. Request to all once again. Any request for making the videos, please submit it in this link. I'll just put it here so that all of you find it easy. Just give me 1 minute. Here is the link. I understand some of you might be joining now for the first time. So here is the stuff, and I would not want to miss on this. So here is the link. You can please submit your request and be assured that I will be coming up with a video on that very soon, right? Okay, I'm sorry. So coming back to the security groups and network ACL, let's say you have one subnet which has got 5 EC2 instances inside that, right? Now you figure out that there are, a set of people, a set of IP addresses from where your instances are being abused, or meaning from that abusive traffic is coming to your website. Once you have those IP addresses, you put a deny rule for those IP addresses specifically at the network. You don't need to go and deny that at every right of all the 5 instances. Rather, you'll stop that particular thing at itself, and hence none of the traffic would be able to enter and reach your instance. So most of the times, network ACLs people. This is not the only one way, but maximum times people use it in such a manner. They go ahead and whatever deny they want to actually do it at the network ACL level. So whatever traffic they want to restrict coming from outside, whatever traffic they want to restrict, they will add deny rules at the network ACL level. Now coming to the security groups, as we said, security groups apply to every instance, right? So let's say there are 5 instances. Out of that, 2 are web servers, 2 are app server, 1 is DB, right? And 1 is having the DB server. Now you should add only those rules in the security group layer where you want to accept or allow outgoing traffic, right? So for an example, from the web server you would want the traffic to go to app server. So in the app server, in the incoming connections, you will only allow traffic to come from the web server. You will not add any other rule, right? And then your app server actually initiates connection to the DB. So in app server security group, you will add outbound traffic, right, or outbound rules. And in your DB server, you will do inbound from the app server. I highly recommend you to see the tutorial on the security group with an example. Also, security groups are stateful and network ACLs are stateless, which means in case of security group, you don't have to add on both the sides. If you have allowed traffic on one side, the result return traffic comes just because of that. Whereas in case of network ACL, you add in both the directions, right? In both the directions, in inbound and outbound. Next point is what are the keep in mind while using ELB? Now, when you do ELB, remember first important thing is that you should spread it across in two different availability zones. That is there for the high availability purpose. In case one complete availability zone goes down, and even in that case, your ELB continues to work, right? So that's first thing. And another important thing is the health checks. When you are defining the health checks of your ELB, people do a lot of mistakes. They do not define the health check properly. And there is a trick there, guys, right? Now, when you define health check, you can put any valid URL of your which is available on your EC2 instances. Maybe many people just go ahead and simply define an index.html page. You can go ahead and define a complex page, which could be a dynamic page like an ASPX page or a JSP page, and make sure that that page is programmed in such a manner that it that page actually checks for 5 or 10 different services which are critical for you on those particular EC2 instances. So only when all the services are up and running, then only this page will load, and then only your health check would be successful. So basically, with that one health check, you are not only web server or web services up or not, rather you are also checking that other critical services running on that EC2 machine are working or not, right? So those are some of the important that in case of ELB, it is recommended that you enable cross-site and connection training. In order to understand both of these in detail, I have a video on YouTube where I've explained this in detail related to ELB. Now, in terms of auto scaling, so you get the real power of ELB when you use it along with auto scaling, right? I mean, because ELB is the one which is distributing the incoming traffic to n instances, and at the back there is auto scaling, which is maintaining the number of instances, right? And also increasing and decreasing it based on the changing demand. Now, when you do auto scaling, it is highly recommended that you try and choose comparatively smaller instances so that you can scale more granularly. For an example, when you define launch configuration, you may choose an instance type to be M4 2x large or M4 4x large as well. But it would make sense that you keep it M4 large, and I'm just talking comparatively. It would make more sense to keep it M4 large so that you can scale out or scale in more granularly, right? If you keep it M4 4x large, in one step itself, you will be paying 4x of the money. Whereas if you're keeping M4 large, you are paying 1x of the money, right? Also, like at regular intervals, you can scale out or scale in. Another important thing in case of auto scaling is the rule says scale out early, scale in slowly, right? So if I'm defining scale out policy, which is there to add instances like if average CPU utilization is greater than 80%, add one instance, right? So I'll say if average CPU utilization is greater than 80% for 10 minutes, add one instance, right? And when I'm defining a scale in, I would say if average CPU utilization is greater than 80% for 20 minutes or for 30 minutes, then remove one instance, which means if I'm removing instances, I need to be doubly sure, right? So that's why you should scale out early. So I'll take a quick pause here, and have a heartbeat from you. Maybe you can say hi, and are you able to hear and understand, and any questions? And I'll try to take one question from Sujit. Sujit, are you there? My question is, we have a classic load balancer and 4 EC2 instances attached to it. Application is hosted in 4 instances now. When I make a request to ELB, is there any way to know which EC2 instance has served that particular request? Okay, yes, it is possible. You can go ahead and uh, uh, on your application using the server-side programming, be it PHP or ASP.NET, you can uh, print or return the private IP of that particular instance. Or if you want, you can create a file where you just keep logging this, that at what time which request was served. But it is possible. If you want, you can just use PHP or ASP.NET and just print the private IP of that instance on the on the screen. You can do that. Can I get a hi or a ping from you, please? Rangesh has asked a question. Can we have ELB from EC2 instances to uh, to read replica databases? I mean, I suppose you're asking, can we put read replica, RDS read replica behind ELB? If that is what is your question, no, you cannot. Behind ELB, you can only attach EC2 instances, right? So if you are creating EC2 instances and you are thinking to you are thinking to manage that database, maybe we can do that, but not the RDS read replicas. That is not possible, Rangesh. Um, hello, hi, Emmanuel, hi, others. Thank you. Um, okay, so what is difference between EBS snapshot and okay? Uh, so let me explain you this. When you take an EBS snapshot, when you take that is basically the backup of that particular EBS volume. AMI is nothing but collection a root snapshot of EBS root volume or some metadata. So if you go ahead and create an AMI, what you will see is actually a snapshot gets created of the root volume of that particular additional metadata gets stored. So go ahead and try to, that is what it would be. So you can also go ahead and create a snapshot of the root volume of your EC2 and then register it as an image, right? So I'll go ahead and I will do a video on this. I would request you to, if you can kindly submit this, I'll ensure that I do that, right? Thank you, Yashwant. Thanks, guys. I will go ahead to the next one. What are the advantages of using CloudFormation? I think I answered this earlier itself, so I'm not gonna repeat this. How does EBS snapshot work? So something which Yashwant, you are asking. So when you create a snapshot, at the time when we issue the snapshot creation command, till that time, whatever is the content in that EBS volume, all of that for all of that backup will be taken. It is recommended that when you take a snapshot at that time, read write, if it is not happening on the EBS volume, that is better. So more consistency can be guaranteed. In case of so also the snapshots are always incremental in nature, right? So when they are incremental in nature, the way they help is only the changed blocks on your EBS volume will be taken and will be saved every time. And also before it is saved in S3, all the snapshots in S3, it would also be further compressed in order to save your money, right? So that's really good. And when you create an AMI, your machine automatically goes for a reboot. You can decide it, but it is highly recommended that you let it reboot in order to ensure consistency. Question number 10, we are talking about architect a highly available environment. In order to architect a highly available environment, first and foremost important thing is you should look at your architecture and just visualize that what would happen if a particular availability zone fails, right? So that automatically brings you to the point that you should try and keep your instances in at least two different availability zones of a region. Now, if you want availability of 4 nines, which is 99.99%, AWS recommends that deploying in two availability zones within a region is enough. But if you want uh, availability of 5 nines, you can go ahead and implement or deploy in two different regions and use Route 53, which is DNS service in between, in order to distribute the traffic between two regions. So I was talking about this some time back. I hope you get the point. But within a region, ensure always two availability zones. So if you are doing EC2 instances, deploy it in two different availability zones. If you're doing RDS, go ahead and create multi-AZ RDS. I have put a video tutorial already which explains in detail that how to create a multi-AZ RDS and what are the advantages of the same. So I would recommend you go ahead, take a look at it, and if you want to use it in certain scenarios, use multi-AZ. Question number 11 is what is the difference between CloudTrail and Config? So as such, I have not explained these till now, but I hope some of you know these services. CloudTrail as a service helps you to record uh, so Harsh, I know that I'll try to answer you, right? Please hold on for a while. If there's a specific request, you can submit, and I'll take the questions just in a while. Emmanuel Zama, yes, you can type your doubt, and I will take that related to security group. I was talking about security group just some time back. Okay, coming back to the CloudTrail and config. So CloudTrail as a service, if you enable CloudTrail, all the API calls which are happening in your AWS account will get recorded. It will be logged and it will be sent to S3 bucket, which you can choose. And in that particular S3 bucket, these log files will keep coming, very frequently. Now the point is, understand CloudTrail is a regional service. Okay, though you can go ahead and from the UI you get an option to enable it for all the regions in one shot, but it is a regional service, which means you may choose to enable it in few regions and not enable it in few regions. Now, once you enable CloudTrail, each and every activity which is happening in your account gets recorded. Somebody logs out of an EC2 instance, somebody terminates it, somebody is modifying a security group. Everything at the back end is an API call, and all of that is getting recorded by the CloudTrail. CloudTrail also records which user was involved in calling this, right? So you can always find out who was involved. In addition to this, CloudTrail also records all the sign-in attempts, the failed and passed both, failed and success both the attempts. So the point is, once you enable CloudTrail, all the operations, whether they were allowed or not allowed, will get recorded. The second service is config. Config as a service records the configuration of your environment at regular intervals. Take an example. You have an EC2 instance today, which you launched and gave to your team, which was of M4 large size, right? M4 large instance type. Now, your people come back after 2 days and they tell you that M4 large is not enough and you need to, increase it. And maybe you change the instance type to M4 2x large. Now, once you have done that, from that particular day, after 2 days, if somebody looks at that particular instance, they are going to understand that this EC2 instance is only M4 2x large. This information that it was M4 large for 2 days or for 1 month, that information is lost. Now, once we enable config, which is a service, it records all of this. It will record that which day, how your environment was, what was the properties of your EC2 instance on a particular day, when did it change to something. You can also hook your SNS topic and get email about the same. It just does not stop here. In addition to this, config gives you a lot of pre-built rules which you can go ahead and enable. A very simple rule can be, you have a set of approved AMIs, hardened images, right? And you can go ahead and ensure or create a rule that any EC2 instance which is should use multi-AMI. If one of your team members goes and launches an EC2 instance with some other AMI, it will automatically become non-compliant. So config can help you with these things. I have planned to put a detailed video on config very soon. Coming to the last question, which is number 12, and after this I'm going to take questions from you. Question number 12 is, what about the scalability in case of RDS? Now, RDS databases are all relational databases, right? And you know that relational databases do not support horizontal scaling because of their architecture. They support vertical scaling. So most of the RDS databases like RDS, Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, you can go ahead and scale them up or down, meaning you can change its instance type. Maybe it is M4 large, now you can make it M4 4x large. But this requires a reboot. Okay, so that is how you scale it. The one other part is, or how to improve the performance, you can go ahead and create read replica. Now read replica is a separate database but there will be an automatic synchronization, automatic replication happening between master database and the read replica. Though this replication is asynchronous in nature, and depending on the engine type, it can there can be a delay of few seconds to 1-2 minutes, right? But you can redirect all the read type of traffic or reporting type of traffic to the read replicas instead of serving it from the main database, and hence master database, right? So my questions get over there. I'll go ahead and look at some of the questions which you have typed. If you're writing more, type that. Some of the common things I'll explain you where to refer. Question has asked that we can write both allow rules and deny rules. Change the order of the rules between a deny and allow rule. Then we are also changing the security policy. How do we manage that? So Emmanuel, first of all, you write allow and deny not in security group but in network ACL. So in security groups, by default, everything is denied and only the rules which gonna work as allow, right? That is also one reason why you can have multiple security groups attached to an EC2 instance, because two rules in two different security groups can never conflict. It is all gonna be union of all the rules. Whereas for a subnet, you can attach only one network ACL. And in that, we can have allow and deny. Now, the question which you asked, yes, the numbers play an important role there. If you look in the network ACL UI, it is arranged in the ascending order, meaning the number which has the rule which has got a smaller number, it comes at the top. So it basically overrides the one which is below that. If you look at one of my tutorial where I have explained the use of network ACL with an example, let me show you here, and you can go ahead, and I would highly recommend go ahead, look at it, and I'm sure your network ACL doubts would get clear. If you don't have, in case it is not clear, you please let me know, and I will answer you. So here is the link for that. Question is from Sujit. Hi, when some data is stored in cache or static variables in C Sharp, where they will be stored when we have an ELB, and with 4 instances of ELB or at individual. Okay, Sujit, it would not be stored on ELB. It would be stored in your EC2 instance. But it is highly recommended that if you want to make real use of ELB to be smooth, try and store your session variables into one. It could be a very fast database. It could be DynamoDB, right? Any and you can store there. That would give you the benefit that if one of goes down as well, the other EC2 instance can serve the request. And also your ELB would be able to distribute the request in a uniform manner. You don't need to enable sticky sessions in that case. I hope that answers your question. Difference between AWS solution architect and SysOps. So, Yashwant, I think I've explained in terms of day-to-day basis what their roles are. That is there on the channel. Please watch that. Also, when it comes to the difference in the syllabus, I've put a tutorial which explains clearly that what all things are common between both of these exams and what all you need to read separately. So most of the common stuff I have kind of covered, and some more small things are there which I will be covering very soon. And then I will create a specific tutorials for the individual tracks as well. I would recommend you to look at, just a minute, I would recommend you to look at this particular, and you should be clear with the differences between them, right? Next is which has asked when to choose a relational DB or non-relational or data warehouse question. Is it wise to migrate from relational to non-relational? How do you relational, non-relational, and data warehousing? Okay, good question. First of all, relational, non-relational. So we all know about OLTP and OLAP systems. OLTPs are our transactional systems. For example, from a website, or there is a store which is doing sales. Now, in order to this regularly, there is a lot of data going in, right? Insert updates are happening. For such things, our OLTP systems work, and for that we mostly use our relational databases. Whereas if later on you want to look at the reports of your sales, you would not want to do the reporting on that particular database. Rather, you would want to you would probably take out all this data, combine the data from different tables, bring it to a um, denormalized format, and you'll keep it into a DB. That is the data warehousing, right? So you might have heard about data warehouses like Teradata, Netezza, etc. In the same way, the uh, AWS has got um, AWS has got Redshift there, right? So you can use Redshift for the data warehousing purposes. For all the OLTP, you have got your RDS. The second part is when to choose between relational and non-relational. Now that's critical. You have to look at the size of, you have to look at the type of your data. If your data comes with a structure, it has 5 fields always, then probably relational is the right thing. But if the structure of data changes, in one record it is 5 field, another record it is 10 field, then probably you should go for non-relational, right? Because you can get it. Now, also other thing is relational databases can give read and write only up to a certain level. If you want read responses, then you should look at some of the NoSQL databases, or basically NoSQL databases like DynamoDB or other things of that sort. So DynamoDB as such promises give single digit millisecond latency even with terabytes of data. So that's how you differentiate between them. Um, so Rangesh, I hope this is answered. Next is from Bala Krishna. He's asking what is the difference between S3 and Glacier service, and how does their pricing mechanism differ? Wow, very good. So first of all, S3 and Glacier. So you store your files in both of them, but S3 is there for the purpose when you want the data on ad hoc basis, right? You want to save the static assets of your website. Let's say your JPG images, your CSS, JavaScript files, your HTML files, all of that you can go ahead and put in S3, and this would be available to you whenever you request, right? Whereas Glacier is a service which is used for archiving purpose. Now, you might be getting a lot of logs from your web server, and you want to keep it, you want to store it for a long time, because later on when you want to you want to look at it, so you can go ahead and archive such things in Glacier. Glacier's per GB storage price is free, but then Glacier is an archiving service. Once you put data into Glacier, immediately back, or whenever you need, you cannot just get it immediately. Rather, you have to wait for the request to get completed, and then only your data is going to be available. So recently, they also introduced a pricing methodology, a pricing method to retrieve your data, but still it is not as available, or I would say, as quickly available as S3 would be. In nutshell, when you want data to be available immediately, keep it in S3. When you want to archive, keep it in Glacier. Ayush is asking, um, how much understanding of VPC is required for solution architect AWS? So Ayush, if I can answer it in one line, if there is only one thing which you should know, right, or I would say the most important thing you should know, that would be VPC, right? That would be VPC. So that's really important. It defines a lot of things. Um, so Ayush has also put the price here. That's great. Yashwant, how much to recover data from Glacier? I would not be taking pricing questions. You can go ahead and okay, how much time you're asking? Okay, so depends on the way you are, the amount of data which you are requesting back, but it typically takes 3 to 5 hours. 3 to 5 hours, for a request to get completed in the normal mode. There is an expedited mode as well, which got introduced recently, but that costs you more. Link tag for that is available on the website. Um, certification, yeah, even for certification, Ayush, because as part of RFC as well, you will be tested on you'll be tested on understanding of VPC and many other things related to that. So it's very the one of the tutorial which I have created on VPC. Many of people have found it very helpful. I would highly recommend you that you watch that. And one of the viewers had informed me after clearing his certification that he was able to understand VPC very well. people who are watching this. So I think it's decent. You can go ahead and get benefited. Quickly, so next question is from Lucky. He's asking, what is the difference between VPC and VPN? Okay, so just a quick check, guys. We will take questions till 10:25, and after that, I would go ahead and talk about the case studies which I have, and then I'll tell you how we are planning to move further. And after that, we'll wrap it up, right? So I'll try to answer as much questions as possible by 10:25, and after that, if there's anything which is unanswered, I would request you please go ahead and write it in the comment section on the channel. I'll surely reply that. There's no comment which I have not replied till now. Okay, quickly. So Lucky, VPC. I hope you understand what is VPC. So you create VPC, and after that, launch your instances within that. VPN is the connectivity, or basically a connection which you do between your VPC and your on-premises network. It is a private connectivity you do. It will be a secure tunnel, and once you have done the VPN connection between your VPC and on-premises network, you will be able to access in your VPC just using their private IPs. You need not reach them with public IPs anymore. Rather, you'll be able to access them from your on-premises or office in the same way as you access which is there in your on-premises data center. Mangesh, eventually most of the data is going to move to S3 or Glacier. So how much EBS can every company choose? Because there is definitely a huge difference. Yes. Let us understand here, Rangesh. The S3 is an object level storage, and it will be able to save things in form of files, right? So anything which is of the type of files, you should always, from the day one, you should keep it in S3. You should not keep it on your compute layer in EBS. Ideally, your EBS, which is attached to your EC2 instance, should only contain the necessary files for your logic. For example, if you are hosting a website on an EC2 instance, only the ASPX, GSPX, JSP, those pages and all or related files should be there. Any image or anything, or during your processing, any TXT file or any CSV files, even if you are creating, try to keep it in S3 from day one. Try to write your application that way, and hence your EBS should need not be very big in case of at least web server and app servers. If you are creating other machines, like let's say you are creating an Informatica server or a ClickView server, they are based on the requirement. The amount of data which you plan to keep there, you can keep it. But other than that, your compute layer need not have lot of storage, because all your data, relational data, you'll keep in RDS. Any non-relational data you can keep in DynamoDB. Any files you should keep in S3. That is how you should design your architecture. So Ayush is asking, how do you apply for jobs after completing solution architect certification? As everybody wants to know that. That's true, Ayush. And the point is that you'll have to, of course, look. You need to have certification. I've talked about this multiple times. That certification alone is not going to give you anything. So if in case you are fresher, or you are currently with less years of experience, my suggestion would be that you should go ahead and create a free tier account and try your hands on, right? Have real experience. That will land you job. So your certification is going to give you visibility. With that, you will be picked up from the lot, and you will be interviewed. But after that, your knowledge plays the role. So make sure that you are hands-on, and at that time when somebody questions you on practical aspects, you are able to answer that. That will surely land you a job. Happy Lucky, you're asking if the recording will be available. Yes, it will be available. This will be available as a video on the channel. So if you want, you can even share this with your friends. Guys, I highly request you that share the channel and the videos which you like with your friends, so that they can also get benefited. Also, I would get to know that in what direction I should take it further. So quickly, a few more questions. Can you please explain when we should use Elastic MapReduce? So Elastic MapReduce EMR is a managed Hadoop MapReduce service which Amazon offers. So Amazon has certain advantages in order to do the processing, because under the MapReduce framework, it can divide the workload on n number of instances and do it in parallel. Now, if you have to go ahead and actually set up a Hadoop environment and run it, is actually quite time taking, and then to do all the administration and configuration. So instead of that, Amazon has given EMR, where you can go ahead and quickly stand up and then just submit your code which you want to run on Hadoop, and that code executes and processes your data. So it's a managed one. It's a managed MapReduce service basically. Ayush has said thank you. Okay, thanks Ayush. Can you have a link or email ID so that we can contact you? I request you that let me share you this. So here is the link. I highly recommend that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Plus, you will get my email ID as well on this particular link which I have sent now. Rangesh is asking, what difference does it make in choosing a placement group, or I myself segregate the instance 10 GB? I'm not, cause using placement group as a service might cost. Okay. Um, so there are two things here. Let's understand first what is a placement group, Rangesh. When you define a placement group and you try to launch, let's say, in one instance, you want 4 EC2 instances, right? You would have seen in the UI that at the top we can select any of instances to be launched in with one API call. So you might want to launch 4 EC2 instances, and you can give one placement group for that. When you do that, AWS tries, it does not guarantee. AWS tries to launch all those EC2 instances on the same physical host, right? So we already understand that EC2 instances are nothing but virtual machines, and if you launch them on the same AWS tries to launch all of those instances on the same physical host. This is helpful when you want when there is a requirement for data transfer or communication between these instances a lot. So keeping them on the same physical host helps. The enabling 10 Gbps network connectivity on particular instance is separate from this. Of course, you can go ahead and combine both of this, but enabling enhanced networking, which means for the supported instance types, enabling 10 Gbps connectivity, that is something for which there is a different process. I'll try to put a video for that. There's a detailed explanation of that on the website as well, but I'll make a video around that. So we can go ahead and do that as well. I hope you understand. Both are two different things, but yes, you can combine them as well. All right, thank you, guys. I hope it is making sense. Uh, we have uh, we have 5 more minutes. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and talk to you about the case studies. Can I get a hi, okay from everyone? Anything? Are you able to understand what we're talking? All right. So let's talk about what I have planned going forward is that once we have covered most of the tutorials and things related to that, I'm going to create tutorials as well as case studies. So I'll pick up an architecting case study. Here is the case study. Customer has given following problem. For the customer with all AWS services which you are aware of, and the advantages as well. Now this is an architecting like architecting track related case study. The reason why I have defined it this way, people who are there in the architecting track, it will be their responsibility to go ahead and uh, design solutions for the customer, and also explain why we are using this particular approach only. Also defend their solution from the pricing perspective, availability perspective, scalability perspective, right? So let's understand what's the problem statement. A company ABC is currently operating in USA for the past 10 years with all infrastructure in-house on premises. They want to move their existing Java-based website to cloud now as part of increasing traffic. Their headquarters is located at New Jersey. They receive traffic from all over the world. They would want to make use of existing Microsoft Active Directory, which is on premises, to validate their employees on the website. Also, they would want the solution to be flexible enough to handle weekend spikes. So on weekend, the traffic increases, and hence you need to you need to plan for necessary scalability. In addition to this, they want to have a dashboard which will be Informatica on cloud, and the results of ETL should be shown in Tableau, right, which is a visualization tool. These dashboards on their website recommend a complete architecture for this RFP, along with infrastructure details and pricing. Also suggest the customer to develop custom strategies to handle the dev, test, and prod environment for the above setup of architecture. So we have talked a lot of things here, though it is just two paragraphs. We need to, if we are applying to this RFP, we need to put the complete architecture, what all services we will use, what would be the architecture on AWS, what pricing strategy we will take, and what configuration we are recommending for every block. So I will be covering this case study in a set of tutorials, and I would request you to follow it closely so that we understand that how do we go ahead and we reply to such things, right? So I will either do it in a one long video tutorial or probably in two, but I'll go ahead and solve this and show you the reply, like how do you plan such things, or how do you work on it. So this will give you an idea of working real time. Next case study is for the SysOps track. So see, whenever an AWS related project comes, people, first of all, architects get involved, they design the solution, and then there's a lot of to and fro conversation with the customers. And once the design is done, that is when SysOps people come into picture, and they go same, right? So in order to do that, here is a case study for the SysOps track. Your organization has won a project, and they've got a picture for a new upcoming web solution. Read through the following specifications from AWS. The web solution makes use of ASP.NET and SQL Server. Also has a lot of static assets, for example, images, audio, video, etc. So you understand that you'll use EC2, ELB. You'll also use static assets. Region of choice is Oregon, US. You will have to implement high availability and auto scaling. So we will do ELB and auto scaling both here. Instance types for web server are going to be M4 large with 200 GB of EBS, general purpose SSD volumes. Under normal conditions, 4 server are enough. That means in your auto scaling group, you will put minimum is equal to 4, and you'll implement auto scaling to add more servers when the CPU utilization is more than 80% for 15 minutes. So this basically is giving you a scale out condition. You can look at my auto scaling video and understand how to define it. That will give you an idea, but I'm of course gonna explain this separately as well. And then maximum number can go up to 8. That is the budget. So your minimum is 4, maximum is 8, and your scale out policy is there in front of you. We'll also make use of CDN, CloudFront to distribute the static content across the world, and also go ahead and create IAM users and groups, right? So there will be two different groups. One group will be allowed to do EC2 related activities like starting, stopping, stopping the RDS instances, and the second group will have full rights on the instance. So we'll create two user groups, and any user who is part of that group will be able to go ahead and do activities, right? So this will be used for ongoing things in order to maintain the environment. At last, we'll have to enable monitoring and create alarms, necessary alarms, so that in case metrics go up, CPU utilization has gone up unnecessarily, we should be and we can go ahead and take some action. So we'll go ahead and create alarms, and we can send the alert to the respective organization list or email. And of course, we'll have to do all of this inside a VPC, and we'll have to create the VPC properly, expose as less as possible in the public subnet, and put up our security group and network ACLs properly. So a typical solution when you implement, you do all of this. So that's how I've defined this case study. And in our upcoming tutorials, we'll go ahead and we'll solve this case study completely in from the start to end in one time. So it will give you a complete feel. I'll stop here, guys. I'm ready to take few comments from you, hear from you. Uh, what are you feeling? How it is? Uh, I will post the URL here once again, where you can submit any of your requests. If you have, for me to make tutorials, please go ahead and do that. And any of your comments, please let me know. Okay, for practicing AWS, you can go ahead and create a free tier account on their website itself. That will give you some things which you can use in order to, in order to work with them. If you want to understand about the free tier, here is the link. Go ahead and watch this, and it will help you. Thank you, guys. I hope you are able to get benefited out of it. All right, so I look forward for your continuous participation. Please go ahead, practice things. If you have doubts, write it on the channel. I will ensure that I reply to all of you. So how is it going to work with the case study? Are you going to make a different video? Yes, Rangesh, I will be making a different video. So I've given this case study. This case study is available as part of this video, which is going to be available, right? This recording, which is going to be available. I will also paste this case study in the description of the video, so you people can go ahead whenever you want. And there will be longer videos available, which I will make after this, where I will go ahead and explain the complete case study one by one. You okay? That's a great thing, Rangesh. You actually, you people can go ahead and try to solve this on your own. So I'm not actually solution in a week's time or 10 days from now. In the meanwhile, you will have this case study available. You people can go ahead and try to solve this. Even mail me the solution which you make on the chat if you want. I can review that, or compare it with the with what I have done sometime, because I might get a lot of requests. Thank you, Sujit. Yeah, okay, Sujit, very good point you brought up. So, guys, my thought is that going forward, I will be doing more live sessions like this. Today was a mix of many things. Going forward, uh, I would be able to, do it nearly every weekend, where I'll do live sessions. I will take few topics and I'll explain, or I'll take typical problems and I'll solve that for all of you. So that is my thought. I'll be publishing that on the channel. I would request you to, check the comment section on the channel. Here is the link for that. If you are subscribed to my channel, of course you will receive it as well, but I would request that please see this. So here is the thing. And so Lucky is asking, can we do in person? Lucky, depending on the geography where all of us are located, I am not sure if I'm doing currently very soon in person, but yes, I am looking at that option, and I will keep you all of you updated in some duration from now, maybe just in a month's duration or 20 days duration. I'll let you know if I'm doing any live thing, but we need to have people who will be able to come and attend in person. So based on that, it depends. Rangesh, go ahead and try to solve it and then compare it with the solution afterwards. Uh, Sujit, I will be doing live sessions more frequently, mostly every weekend, and I'll be publishing the schedule for the same. I think we are good. If you have any more questions, you can go ahead and section or into the URL which I have given you now. I'll take that. You can submit the request for any specific videos, and thank you for kind words. The intention here is to try and help people without doing any bullshit. Right, AWS training is actually very costly in the market, and what people are giving is just air. So that's the intention. I'm trying to explain with my experience and with some of the depth as much as possible. I hope you people get benefited, but please remember, practicing is the key. Unless until you go ahead and try your hands, make your hands dirty, it is not going to work. So please go ahead, create an AWS account if you have not done already, and go ahead and create, do things on your own and check it. Before that, surely read this particular URL. so that you are aware that how much of the usage is free and you are not charged unnecessarily. You can basically do all of it within the free tier account. It is good enough. So please be aware, understand the pricing as well, and go ahead and practice. With that, I will sign off for now. Thanks a lot, guys, for taking out time and attending the session. And from next time, it is gonna be more smoother. Today we had some hiccups in the we're looking forward to join all of you and spread the word to your friends. And next weekend when we are having the session, we look forward to have more of you. Thank you. Bye bye.